All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, one of our fourths. I know that we're just kind of in the kitchen here, and it's a little bit cramped, sort of ish, kind of. Dante, my standard poodle, is here. This video is titled Preparing Dog Food Properly. And before I get into this, I want to give an explanation what I mean by preparing dog food properly. Well, you could say all sorts of things about how to properly or improperly prepare dog food in whatever kind of way you want to say is proper. I'm going to give information in this video about preparing dog food in a way that your dog is going to be able to utilize the food the most. Okay? So here on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, we let dogs stay natural, with dogs just being domesticated animals living in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. Dogs would never deal with the things they're dealing with until we brought them under human beings' care, until we took wild dogs and selected specific dogs to breed together and kind of almost made new breeds over time. We took these wild dog breeds and now we have new breeds. There was no such thing as a poodle, for example, before we made it, kind of, as human beings. We just selected specific dogs over generation and generation and generation, and then now we have breeds that didn't even actually exist in the past, okay, or in nature. So there's a lot of things that dogs are dealing with, and we just have to do all we can to do what our slogan is here on 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company, In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, with letting dogs stay natural. Okay, we have to do all we can to let our dogs stay natural. So the thing is, that's what I'm saying is this video, it's not necessarily that this is how dogs would naturally eat. There's actually a video here under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled Feeding Dogs Naturally. And I gave at least a pretty good introduction of information on, what it means for dogs to eat under human beings' care versus dogs eating naturally in the wild. We've also got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled Enrichment Through Feeding for Dogs. So, we're just doing what we do here. As we say, another date marks documentation is really what these videos are. Just documentation on some things, and we're just showing what we do as In the Image Clothing Company, and we always have and will do so much under what I call the gift of video, under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. So with Dante here, I'm going to feed him. I've got things here to prepare his food, and I'm going to just discuss what I'm doing as I'm doing it. A big thing with dogs is they eat so fast. They would just have to. In nature, if dogs have a kill of an animal that they're going to eat, they have to eat it fast enough to where they get enough food before even just the other members of their dog pack eat it, right? And then they don't get to it before it's gone. But also dogs have other predators in the wild that are going to come and try to get the food from the animal that the dog pack has killed to eat. And sometimes dogs will get driven away from their own food, the food that they did the work to get, by other predators. And so dogs just eat fast. And you notice this if you do, you'll see your dogs or other people's dogs eat if you do. They eat fast. Normally dogs will eat just about as fast as they can. And so a big thing is a lot of dogs don't really chew their food just about at all. Okay, so when I say preparing dog food properly, I just mean, as I said, to get the most utilization and nutrients out of their food. That's what I'm explaining in this video on what I mean by properly for this video's title's sake and why we're having this specific video here under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Because if we give our dog this, okay, for example, well, I'll show this piece. If we give our dog this piece of chicken skin, this is just skin from a chicken, that's just one whole piece of chicken skin. Your dog might try to swallow that thing in one piece. Look at him just getting all ready to eat it. Dante is such a good patient dog. I'm holding chicken skin right here, just a couple feet from his head, and he's just patiently laying there on the ground. He's awesome. But your dog might chew it into maybe 2 pieces, and maybe not. If they can swallow something, dogs will usually just swallow it. But this is what I mean by preparing dog food properly, is preparing dog food in a way that your dog can eat and not have to like recuperate after they've eaten. This is the same for us as human beings. On the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, we discuss eating naturally, okay? For dogs on In the Image Clothing Company poodles and human beings on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, we discuss eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do as a human being, everything the dogs do, and doing these things naturally, with the goal being natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, natural, neutral, and normal being synonyms within the functioning of the bodies. And that's really what we're about, allowing the body to work on In the Image Clothing Company's main side for us human beings, and letting dogs stay natural on In the Image Clothing Company poodles here. We discussed chewing food thoroughly. We need to really thoroughly chew our food. Our food has its first form of digestion being in our mouth. Before the food ever gets down into our abdomen, into our stomach or our intestines, we have saliva, which breaks down carbohydrates and fats, in the case of us human beings at least. Just meaning the saliva is in our mouth, and it's a form of digestion. Our teeth are in our mouth, and they're a form of digestion, physically breaking down food. We need to chew our food very, very thoroughly to be able to get more surface area on the food. Good boy, Dante, you wait. For our stomach acid and the saliva before it gets to the stomach acid, but all the intestinal juices, if you will, to break down and fully extract the nutrients from the food to utilize it to the best that our bodies can, to get the most out of it, is what I mean by the word utilize. And that's really what I mean by this video's title, Preparing Dog Food Properly, for the dog to use the food as thoroughly as their body can, because you can feed your dog twice as much food and not have them get as much from it as feeding them half as much food. Because if this chicken skin is not really chewed and it just passes through the dog's body, not in small enough pieces to where it can really be utilized and used fully and properly, and all the nutrients that the dog's body can extract from it be extracted from it, then we're actually wasting food. That's the same with human beings, like we discussed on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, with allowing the body to work for human beings. A lot of people are just eating a ridiculously excessive amount of food, just way, way more food than their body actually needs, because it doesn't matter. The quantity or the amount of food you put into your body, if it's not put into your body properly, introduced to your body properly, your body can't fully use it. Your body can't fully utilize the food. And food is just a foreign object. It's a foreign thing to your body before you put it into your body, and your body can acclimate to the food, or the food can acclimate to your body. That's just how that works. No matter how healthy or nutritionally filled food is, how natural food is, for us human beings or for the dogs, it's just a foreign thing to the body before it gets put into the body. Our bodies are a closed system. Our bodies are waterproof. You know, we can jump into a pool and be completely submerged in water. Same with the dogs. And water doesn't get into our bodies. Our bodies are a sealed, closed system, and so anything outside of our bodies is foreign to them until it gets inside of our bodies, and our bodies can have the chance to accept it and not reject it. That's the thing, is if we're not introducing food to our bodies properly, they won't fully accept what we've put in there, and then a lot of the food will just pass through our bodies and we'll just excrete it out, okay? Bowel movement, feces, right? It just comes out without even being used by the body. So preparing dog food properly, what I mean is in a way to where we can have what we feed our dog be used as fully and thoroughly in our dog's body as we can, to give them all the nutrients that's in the food, or as high of nutrient value that is in the food that can go into the dog. That's what we're going for, because there's what's called bioavailability in food. And a lot of this is to do with the specific animal, right? Human beings versus dogs versus maybe cats or birds or whatever animal it is. Some animals will eat the same thing as another animal, but their body won't extract as much nutrients from it as the other animal, potentially. Okay. The body needs to be able to break down what we put into it before it can actually use it. It doesn't matter if you give your dog the healthiest food on the planet. If you're not preparing it properly and putting it into your dog's body properly, they're not going to be able to fully use the food that you're giving them. This is the same with us as human beings on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company with allowing the body to work. You know, a lot of people go to such extents to get what they think is the most high quality and healthy, nutrient packed food. But if they don't introduce it to their bodies properly, or if we don't introduce it to our dogs properly, a lot of it's just being wasted. And it's just passing through the body without actually being used. Okay. So, dogs really don't chew food. They basically don't. They will just swallow it if they can swallow it, pretty much as quick as they can. So if we break our food up for our dogs into smaller pieces, as I take this chicken skin and rip it into little, you good boy, bite-sized pieces, he's just laying right next to me as I'm ripping this chicken skin up into smaller pieces, and he's being so patient and good. Dante, the standard poodle, man. But yeah, if you rip your food up into little pieces about the size of, kibble, like dog food, modern dog food in 2026, just break it up into small little pieces. Then there's more surface area, meaning more, surface to the pieces, where you rip this chicken skin that was all one piece into smaller pieces. Now at those edges that have been ripped, the dog's stomach acid and, well, the dog's saliva, even though it's only going to be a little bit because food is only in the dog's mouth for just such a small amount of time. They just eat it so fast. But yeah, all the digestion juices, okay, acids and bodily fluids that are used to break down the dog's food to fully utilize the benefit of the food to fuel the dog, right? Food is just fuel. They will be able to coat the food more thoroughly the more the food's broken down. This is the same with us as human beings, and a lot of people just don't chew their food thoroughly at all. There's a lot that goes into that. The reason we are a clothing company is for anything that clothes the human body or the body of the dogs, right? Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. There's only natural things until we make unnatural things from natural things as human beings. But then also we have joints of body parts that need to mesh with joints of material. And, there's only one way the human body could ever work. There's only one way the dog's body could ever work. We've got just bones, only the shape that they are, only the length that they are. Muscles, same thing, just the shape and length that they are. And muscles only pull and just directly in line from where they connect to bones through tendons. Bones just connect to bones through ligaments. And they just can only do it the way they can do it, right? The human body can never do anything else besides what God designed it to do. The dogs can never do anything else either, their bodies, besides what God designed them to do. So I'm just discussing some things. He did lick a little piece off the ground there that I dropped, which is okay because I dropped it right by his face. And he's just being so patient, Yeah, we're designed in the image of God as human beings. And so our bodies being designed in the image of God, well, God had to first look like us to design us in his image, okay? And the human body will never change. The dogs will never change. Not really. It's funny, though, because we change dogs as human beings, kind of, right, through selective breeding. But the bodies just grow by themselves. They just do what they do. The digestive systems can only extract the amount of nutrients that they can from food, but we have to do our part because our body's digestive system, that's what I'm saying, only works how it does. And so if we don't introduce food to our digestive system as properly as we can, the digestive system that just only works how it does can't work as well if we're introducing food improperly. If we're not being intentional about how we eat, then there you go. So if I just gave Dante this whole big piece of chicken skin, and this piece that I'm breaking up now was almost twice as big if you saw it. I just wasn't explaining it as I was starting to break this piece into smaller pieces. But if Dante just ate this whole piece right here, I mean, this is like a 3 by 4 inch piece of chicken skin. That's a big piece of chicken skin. And Dante, and most any dog is what I'm saying. You know, it's not about Dante specifically, but he's just the one in this video to, you know, show the visual and to explain what's going on here. Most any dog, if they can swallow something, they'll swallow it. If it's food, or if it's something else that they just want to swallow too that's not food. That's why we need to be very careful about, you know, kind of treating our dogs the way we treat babies, in the way of not letting them swallow things, you know, like toys and especially unnatural materials, right? Unnatural, synthetic, and artificial. These are things that didn't even exist and couldn't even exist unless human beings made them. There's always only natural. And everything unnatural always just decomposes back to natural. There's no approach to truth, right? Which is what we do under In the Image Clothing Company here. We just try to align everything we do with truth. Another name for God is the truth. The same, always. Yesterday, today, and forever. Just, yeah, meaning always. So, the truth is, with this, is, you know, surface area. Okay? The smaller we break down food, the more area there is. What are you choking on, boy? for the body to, you know, really soak its juices, seriously, the digestive juices, the stomach acid, right, into the food to digest it. But not only that, we also just have to process this food through our bodies. And this big piece of chicken skin, you good, buddy? A big piece of chicken skin just isn't going to be able to pass through the dog's digestive system very well. Our digestive systems as human beings and dogs, look at how good he is. He's not trying to take it from my hands. It's like 2 inches from his face there. He is such a good dog. Our digestive systems are just tubes, right? We swallow food down tubes and it goes through tubes in our bodies. It's just a tube from the opening of our mouth out our rectum. And along the way, things will be taken from the food. And as I said, food is just fuel. And so the more proper of fuel we can put into our bodies, the better our bodies will be able to work. And so we need to just be very intentional about, well, for us as human beings, chewing thoroughly, okay, on In the Image Clothing Company's main side, with allowing the body to work. But with dogs, they don't chew. I mean, we're not going to teach our dogs to chew. You're probably not going to even have that be a possibility, right? Pretty much not going to ever teach dogs to chew more thoroughly. I don't think anyone is ever really going to do that. Okay. And so our dogs will just eat as quickly as they eat. And we, though, as human beings, as the one providing the food for the dogs, if we can just break the food up small before we even give it to them, then it's like they chewed it more thoroughly than they otherwise would. Okay, so there's some chicken skin. Here's some Greek yogurt. Okay, this is me just preparing Dante's food. We actually went on a walk after we woke up, and we haven't eaten anything yet. Okay, well, I had a little tiny bit of food as we were leaving, but this is just Dante's food. Okay, in general, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is this is how I would prepare Dante's food. This is how I do prepare Dante's food on the daily, okay? Regularly, this is what I do, is break his food up into small pieces so that he can have it pass through his digestive system easier, because Dante just doesn't really chew his food, okay? So, I'm going to eat that little piece of Greek yogurt, little piece, if you will, little bit that was on that spoon still. But, yeah, we need the food, as I'm doing here, okay, to be properly introduced to the body. That's the thing, is I only put a little bit of Greek yogurt in my mouth there, just what was left on that spoon that didn't really come off, that I, you know, was putting into his food. I let it sit in my mouth for a little while and let my saliva fully mix with the food to fully mix with the food. Saliva, at least in the case of a human being, I don't know for sure as of right now about dogs, what role their saliva plays exactly. But saliva in us human beings, it breaks down carbohydrates and fats before the food ever gets a chance to even get into the body's, actual digestive system, like I was saying earlier. So the more thoroughly we can coat our food with our saliva, the more thoroughly it will be utilized and digested in the body. The more thoroughly we can break down our food through chewing as human beings, the more thoroughly it can be utilized and digested in the body. And so with our dogs, we kind of have to do it for them. Okay, so good boy Dante, you ate. So this is what I'll feed Dante right now. The chicken skin, a little bit of Greek yogurt, and then a little bit of dog kibble, okay? So we discuss rehydrating dehydrated dog food, okay, kibble. And it's the same for human beings, We've got a lot of dehydrated food in modern day, and what that means is the water content has been unnaturally extracted from the food, and so we rehydrate dehydrated foods. And as I'm saying, with us as human beings, how we have the ability to really, change our behavior in ways that dogs don't quite have, right? They don't have quite the same degree of understanding as we do as human beings, where we can choose to eat slower. We can. Dogs can't. Not really, right? I mean, maybe you could train your dog to, but we can just choose to chew our food thoroughly, and dogs can't, really, okay? So here we go, okay? Food and water, both in one container. That's how I do it, okay? I don't personally feed Dante, and I won't be feeding any of my dogs. Dante, wait. Plain water, okay? I guess you're not feeding them water at all, but, right, because you drink water. But if we allow the water to soak with the food, then we're rehydrating the dehydrated kibble. Dante, it's okay, you wait. It's soaking. I tell him that. I mix his food like this, and then I tell him it's soaking. We wait for just a few minutes, right, for the water to fully mix with the food. And it teaches Dante patience. It really does, and he's a very patient dog because of a lot of these things. A lot of that's just him, too. He's just an amazing dog. But we need to make sure there's water content in our food, because food that has been unnaturally dehydrated, we just try to get it back to how it was. Food always has water content in it in nature, whether it is meat or fruits or vegetables, even nuts, seeds. Everything has some degree of water content in it, natural food, because that's how things grow, right? Everything's just earth. Meat is just earth. Plants are just earth, because the thing is, the animals that eat the plants that we get the meat from just eat earth. Our bodies are only what we eat. And that's how we grow. It comes from the earth. And then we die and our bodies go back to the earth and other things eat us. It's just a cycle. So we live on this water planet, Earth, okay? And it's just natural for everything to have a certain level of water content in it. Good boy. You're good. So yeah, rehydrating our food as human beings or the dogs is how we can prepare our food properly before we eat it. But we just want everything to be as broken down as it can be before we feed our dogs. This is the thing. Kibble, right? This dehydrated, dry dog food, these little like pellet ball things that I put in here last. They're good in a lot of ways, because really, if we could prepare our food as human beings or dogs as properly as we could, as thoroughly as we could, as far as breaking it down, it would be like how this kibble is, really. If we put food into a blender, everything we ever ate, if we blended it up or just ground it up really, really, really small, then our bodies could utilize it the fullest. If everything was in powder form, if you can see what I mean, like how the kibble is, that's what it is it's essentially just powder that they just squish together into these little balls or cubes, little kibble pieces. The thing with it though is it's dehydrated. It's gone through an unnatural process of excessively hot temperature to cook the food and to just, make it be what it is, to extract the water from it. So if we rehydrate it like this, we're getting it in ways back to how it was. It's still gone through this unnatural heat and the processing that it has. But, ripping up the chicken skin is similar to how they've ground up all the ingredients of this kibble into really small pieces. And the smaller you can get food, the more surface area there is on it for your body to extract the nutrients. So that's the thing. I know a lot of people will be giving their dogs food, and if you give your dog a piece of meat, maybe you give your dog a piece of meat that's almost the size of your hand, and they might bite it into 2 pieces, 3 pieces maybe, or they might eat it in one whole piece if they can. It's just this big thing that's going to just have to travel through their digestive system, and it causes more energy to be used just to pass that thing through the body. So now you're fueling your body in ways that you wouldn't even have had to fuel it before. What I mean is your body uses energy to pass it through, and now your body needs to be refueled from the energy it used to pass the food through it. If the food is unnaturally large, right? Like a big piece of meat for a dog, or a big piece of this chicken skin like I was showing. So, yeah. That's why dogs will have to recuperate after they eat. Human beings too, if human beings eat food and afterward we feel, whoever it is, if you feel like you have to sit down or just relax or not do much for a while, you just didn't eat properly. The body should be able to just accept the food we put into it without feeling like we have to really recover from some big event that happened. I mean, that's the thing. You watch people eat, and after, we've got this phrase of a food coma, where people just want to take a nap because their body's trying to digest the food. And it's hard for it too because they didn't introduce the food properly, okay? That's what I'm saying in this video for the dogs, is preparing dog food properly, meaning setting our dogs up for success, if you will. I mean, that's a phrase. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, which is one of our 4s under In the Image Clothing Company, where really we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we're on episode 204 as of today's date, the 25th of February, 2026, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But there's an episode titled Set Up for Success, and at that time I was just saying we, as in the Image Clothing Company, are set up for success. But setting our dogs up for success is things like, what happens before the dogs are even born with proper breeding, and the importance of purebred dogs for the health of dogs, not the prestige. But also things like this, feeding our dogs properly, right? This video's title on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. On the 25th of February, 2026, okay? Preparing dog food properly. We're setting our dogs up for success for the rest of the day. If you feed your dog their breakfast and you just give them this big slab of meat, for example, they're going to be probably fatigued from all the work their body has to do to try to break down this big chunk of meat that's having to pass through their system. And really the reason we feed our dogs is to fuel them, to give them energy, but it actually uses and takes energy from the body to break down unnaturally large pieces of food put into the body. And then also just the dehydrated kibble. The body has to take a lot of the water content that's already in it and put it into the food that's dry going into the dog, just to get it wet enough to pass through the digestive system anyway. So this dry food, it can scrape up the dog's gums in their mouth, their tongue, their throat, the whole digestive tract of the dog, from the mouth to the rectum. If we've got this unnaturally dry food because it's been dehydrated. So preparing dog food properly, just making sure there's natural water content in the food, because there always would be in natural food. And there's only natural food until human beings make unnatural food. Okay. It's on our food packaging. For us human beings, our food that we eat, unnatural, artificial, synthetic colors, preservatives, flavorings, right? All these kind of things. There's only natural that exists, truly. All right. And what I'm saying is, if we're feeding our dogs to give them energy, we need to prepare their food properly, because we're the ones choosing what they eat. And we're giving them things, in most all cases, as human beings with dogs under our care, just domesticated dogs that we're owning, that are in packaging. Dog food from the pet store, it's in packaging. Even just human being food, if you are going to feed your dog food other than dog food, that's entirely fine, as long as you're doing all you can to give your dog whole food, real natural food. The term people food gets used in what people, if you will, feed their dogs. People food, what that really means is the type of stuff that's branded as food for human beings that's not even okay for us. Unnatural, artificial, synthetic food. It's not even okay for the human beings, and it's certainly not okay for our dogs. But whole foods, you can feed your dog the same things you would eat as a human being, as long as it's not toxic for your specific dog's breed, or if your specific dog has allergies to certain things. Yeah, you can totally feed your dog anything that's just whole natural food that's okay for them. It doesn't have to be dog food, like branded store-bought dog food. But no matter what it is, we just need to prepare it properly. Just realizing the big focus is that our dogs don't really chew. They just don't. They just eat food fast. So there you go. I'm going to feed him one of these two bowls. I prepared two different containers here for him. That's normally how I do it, and I'll explain that if and where I do throughout this as well, why there's two in just one setting, like one meal for him. I usually break up into two. I'll explain it right now before I feed it to him. I'm already talking about it. I normally will take the amount of food I'm going to give Dante in one meal and break it up into like maybe a 5 or 10 minute difference in time, right? Like if I'm feeding Dante breakfast and it's a pretty solid amount of food, it's the same thing as just eating too big of pieces of food at a time. Just introducing too much food into your body at a time, it's just this big dump of food that your body didn't have in it a minute before, because dogs will only take about a minute to eat their whole bowl of food, usually, give or take. They eat really fast. And so going from not having any of that food in their body to just dumping the whole amount of food in their body just really quickly, that's a lot for their body to just have to be like, okay, now we have to process this through us, if the body is speaking of the dog. Do you see what I mean? And that's a lot for the body to have to do, a lot of work and effort to have to process all that through its body at one time, like that large of quantity of food. And so if I'm feeding Dante like this much food, okay, the amount in these two containers, that's quite a bit of food for the size of Dante. Dante, up. Hey. Up. Good. Look at just the size of this amount of food versus like the size of Dante's head. I mean, that's almost the amount of food that's similar equivalent to the size of Dante's head, for example. Just, compared to his body size, that's a lot of food to just put into the body all at once. So preparing dog food properly, that's part of it as well, is just introducing only the amount of food at a time to the dog that their body can really, you're doing so good, dude, it's okay, you wait. That their body can really accept and process properly without it just being this like overload of like so much food at once, okay? So I'll feed him this half of his food, and then we'll keep discussing what we do, and I'll feed him the other half as well. Okay, Dante, it's okay, you wait. I'm gonna squat instead of sitting down. Okay, boy, here. Good. Good boy. And the reason I have it in this little glass container inside of this metal container is because of what I was discussing in that video here under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, titled Enrichment Through Feeding for Dogs. And it's also because of what I'm saying here with how fast dogs normally eat. This actually will cause him to take more time to eat, and then that actually, directly goes along with this video's title and explanation under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles about preparing dog food properly. Not only did I break it into smaller pieces, just so that the pieces will pass through his body easier, but it's what I was just saying about how I split this amount of food, generally, into two different meals, just a few minutes apart, because you don't want it to go into their body so quickly that it's just such a shock for their system to just have this big dump of food at once into it. Well, what I'm saying with that is, if we make it kind of a challenge, actually kind of hard for our dogs to eat, that's a good thing. That's really what I was saying in the video titled Enrichment Through Feeding for Dogs. Okay, on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles here. Because now Dante is taking probably 2, 3, 4 minutes to eat this, when he could eat this whole amount of food in probably about 20, 25 seconds, give or take, if it wasn't challenging for him to get to. So I have this little glass jar that he's really struggling to have to get into with his tongue to get the food out inside of this other metal container. And, as I said in the other video, because this is what I was discussing there, is how we actually present the food to the dog, enrichment through feeding for dogs. Just make sure you do all you can to not have it be a sharp container that they could cut their mouth on, or something they could break into a small piece that they could swallow and choke on. But yeah, preparing food properly for your dog, if you can have it take some time for them to eat, then there's more of like a gentle introduction to their digestive system of food, because it's like us as human beings. If we're just eating really big meals, like 3 really big meals a day, it's just a lot for the body to accept all at once. If we can kind of break our food up throughout the day into smaller little snacks, if you will, snacking throughout the day is so much more healthy for the body than just dumping a large quantity of food in the body maybe 3 times a day for this very same reason. Our bodies just need to be able to utilize the food. They need to be able to process it. They need to be able to not be overly worked by the quantity of food we put in at a time. So, all right, that's pretty well gone. Hey, you wait. Good boy. Good. Okay. Oh my goodness, I just kicked the camera a little bit. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying, is if we can break the food into small pieces, because the dog doesn't really chew. Okay, they'll eat it just about as quick as they can. If we can make sure our food is hydrated, rather than having unnaturally dehydrated food that comes through human beings' processing of food. If we can, I don't know which number we're on of these things I'm listing off, but these are just some main points that this video is for, right? To explain these things. Make it so that our dogs eat at least relatively slowly, maybe slower than they naturally would, by making it a little bit challenging through something like this. We could call this enrichment, right? Where we're making it kind of hard, actually, for our dogs to get to the food, because that's a natural thing. It's hard for dogs to get food in the wild, and that's good, right? That's natural. There's a lot of things to this that we can do as human beings to feed our dogs by preparing dog food properly before the dog even eats it. It's not only about the food we give them, as far as what type of food, if it's natural food, if it's unnatural food, if it's dog branded food, if it's just good whole foods that we put together as a dog's meal. These are ways we can think about feeding dogs as well, but not only what type of food we feed our dogs, but preparing it properly, because we're the ones introducing it to the dog. As these domesticated animals, they have no choice in just about any case to eat anything at all besides what their owners, like me in the case of this specific dog here, Dante, I decide everything Dante eats, when he eats, how much he eats, and he has no choice of going and making a kill of an animal and getting his own food, because that's what happens and what it means to domesticate animals. It's already an unnatural thing to begin with. It truly is. But I'm also playing into it as somebody who owns dogs, right? Under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, we'll breed purebred standard poodles to show how to do it properly. Not that we'll do it perfectly, but right, to advocate for purebred dogs and the health of dogs through that. And I'll just have many poodles as I go throughout my life. Me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. But no matter who's owning dogs or what exactly each individual is feeding each individual dog, preparing the food properly is a point as well, especially just because where our food comes from that we're giving our dogs, even though this is branded as dog food, right? Things that are dog branded food from dog stores, pet stores, you know, it's in a packaging, it's labeled specifically for dogs. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's prepared in the best way for the dog to be able to fully utilize what is actually in the package of the food. What dog branded food is just, you know, a blend of different foods to try to give the dog a well-balanced diet. And that's great, but there's still things we need to do to prepare it if we want to do all that we can to have it be able to be fully utilized by the dog. And just rehydrating food is one of the biggest points, truly. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, whatever else I could say and explain about this, you know, on this topic as of today's date, giving some context, you know, I'm in this for life to do this, the founder, but really the leader of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. So, you know, we'll talk about this more certainly as time progresses. My understandings and information will deepen, and then we'll give more information as our team builds and as we just do this more, as I have more personal experience with this and, you know, just things like that going forth. But just with doing so much under the gift of video, under In the Image Clothing Company and all four sides, here's where you can come to find a lot of information, and you don't have to listen to me or believe me on anything, but this is really how these things are working within the bodies of human beings or dogs. Food is just fuel. That's all it is. And fuel needs to be refined to be able to be utilized. That's the word that we've used so much in here because that's the point. The title could be, you know, how to prepare dogs' food so they can utilize its full benefit to the highest degree we can as human beings, being the owners of dogs, right? That's what I'm saying. That's really what this video is. This is not some kind of approach or opinion to how I'm trying to explain you should prepare your dog's food. This is just me giving context on what it really means for food to fuel bodies. There is nutrients in this food, and you can have the highest quality dog food that exists. But if your dog can't get the nutrients from that, it doesn't matter what's in it, right? This chicken skin, this is not processed, it's just whole chicken, and the majority of what I've fed here from the chicken is just the skin from it. That's just natural meat, just like a dog in the wild killing a bird and eating its meat. But, you know, it still has to process through the dog. Just because there's a lot of nutrients in it doesn't mean it's going to be fully extracted into the dog's body just because the dog eats it. So I'll feed Dante this other half, if you will, of his food. We can just kind of watch him eat. And if I explain any more on this topic throughout this video, I will, but mostly just an introduction, mostly just some context, and definitely not anything you have to do, like taking my approach here exactly as I did it, right? You don't have to feed your dog out of containers just like this. You don't have to, right, do anything exactly how I say. I mean, if that's not obvious, we're all just equal human beings, but it's really just about focusing on food is fuel. This is a big point too, as a lot of people say for both human beings and then to our pets as human beings or our dogs, right, our domesticated animals, we'll say the phrase if and where, well, not me really, but as human beings, a lot of people say food is love. You know, you love your dog so much and you just feed them and feed them and feed them. There's a lot of things that can come from overfeeding your dog, health problems, obesity, and then the obesity, just meaning overweight dogs, that can cause other problems like joint problems as the dogs are just trying to stabilize their body naturally. If they're unnaturally overweight because we overfeed them, then that can cause more problems in their joints as well anyway, right? In their bones of their body. Good boy, Dante. You are good. So, you know, we don't want to just be feeding our dogs all the time because we love them. A lot of times you're actually damaging your dog more than anything else just by feeding them more than they need, if you are feeding them more than they actually need. And so anyway, just like I'm saying, this video is just context. We love that word under In the Image Clothing Company. Context, context, context. It doesn't matter what you're ever talking about in life. Can you actually explain it? Do you actually know what you're saying? Are you actually saying it for a valid reason out of understanding? Or did you just hear something? Do you have an opinion on something? Opinions don't get us to truth. Truth is truth, right? The truth is the digestive system of the human being or the dog or any animal that it is the same with. It's just a system to take nutrients from what we call food, which is really just fuel, and break it down and turn it into our bodies. That's truly what's happening. The dog is only a full-size dog because of what they've eaten. A dog in the mother dog, right before the dog's born, as they're growing inside the mother, the food the mother's eating goes into the puppies and fuels the puppies. Then when the puppies are born, you take this small dog, and the only way it goes from being a small dog to a full-size dog is because it literally is an accumulation of the food it has eaten. As the same with us as human beings. The only way I've gone from being a little baby to being 6'2" tall is because I have literally become physically what I have eaten. That's how it works. That's where it comes from, is just the earth. And so all of what this food is, it's not really chicken and, kibble and Greek yogurt and water, which are the 4 ingredients that I've fed Dante here in this video. It's not really those things. On a very small level, it's just the nutrients, minerals, and what this food is actually made up of on a very small level. Everything is just matter, right? Matter cannot be created or destroyed. It's a universal scientific law. It's the truth. It's the same thing exactly as saying God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and unchanging, and there's only truth to life. Things can't be, anything different than they are. All Dante is food. As a standard poodle, he's just an accumulation of food he's eaten. All Evan Strong, me, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, all I am is an accumulation of the food I have eaten. Food is just fuel. So that's what I mean by this video's title, Preparing Dog Food Properly. It's not that I'm trying to give you the exact approach on how you should do it, but, this really is the approach in ways here. Yes, breaking the food down as small as we possibly can, making sure it's hydrated properly, and not introducing too much to the dog's body at once. Those points, yes. I mean, I can tell you those things have to happen if we want the digestive system to work as properly as it is designed to. It only works how it does. The digestive system of the human being, the digestive system of the dog. That's what I say as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. It's the truth. It's not my choice. The only end is to allow God's design of the human being to work, or to let God's design of the dog stay natural. We didn't design our bodies. We didn't design the dog's bodies. We can say that we kind of made these breeds through our choices of selecting certain dogs, but we didn't actually cause the breed to grow. We just choose which dogs will create more dogs, but it just happens on its own. It's just a process that happens. Yeah, God is in charge is the point. You're so patient. This is good. I know it might seem like it's torture, but it's good. It's good for him to really be able to be patient. I mean, I'm not withholding anything from him. I'm still going to feed him all the food that's here prepared for him. But if he can just wait for it, I mean, he just had a whole half of this amount of food anyway, just a few minutes ago. that is a time when you can teach your dog patience really well, is through their feeding. Don't tease your dog, but, you know, done properly, yeah, if you make your dog wait for their food, that's really going to teach them patience, you know, more than just other like patience training and whatever other way you could with dogs, because food is like your dog's highest priority. You know, they want it so much. And don't tease them. Don't tease them. But if you can kind of make them wait, you know, involve your dog in the process of you making their food. Like when I feed Dante, I take each ingredient that I'm going to feed him and I put it right up to his nose and I say, good. And then I start making his food. It's not me teasing him when I pull it away from him, because I only put things up to his nose like that I'm actually preparing right then for him to eat. But then he's involved in the process, and then he can do what he's doing here and just kind of be here and be patient. I'm not teasing him. But it really does strengthen and grow your dog through patience. Dante's a really good boy, really patient dog. So anyway, I'll feed him this other one. If we discuss more, we do. If not, then okay. Whoa. Okay, boy. Good. You did so good. I'll just kind of hold this glass jar in place so it's not noisy. Always eating out of it. But, you know, feeding dogs at the proper height like this too. You know, this is a big thing we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Yeah, and I've given a lot of context on it where I have. So just to not be redundant right now with the information, go check that out if you'd like to. Feeding dogs naturally. If you can get to that video, that's where I discuss the height of feeding dogs and why, right? But we'll just discuss it more as time progresses. It's not like I'm, you know, holding any information back, but just to gear these videos around what the title is, you know, is the point of having separate videos like this. Or I could just make one really big video with, you know, all the information and put into multiple different videos. So, but yeah, see, this is what I mean is if you prepare the food properly, it's like us being very intentional about how we sit there and chew our food thoroughly and take time to eat and, you know, just eat properly. There truly is just a proper way to eat, to introduce food to the body. It just has to be accepted by the body or the body won't use it. If the body has something put into it that it thinks is just a foreign thing that it doesn't want to accept, it'll reject it. And that's the point, is then you put the healthiest food possible into your body, but if your body doesn't accept it, it'll still pass through your whole digestive system and come out your rectum as a human being or a dog, but maybe without your body even really extracting any nutrients from it, because your body will just decide to reject it and be like, all right, well, we've got to get rid of this, so we'll pass it through the whole system, but, you know, without utilizing the fuel that's in the food. So there really is a lot to this, you know, and you don't have to do any of this. I mean, you can just feed your dog whatever you want, but it's your responsibility, just as it's my responsibility, and it's the responsibility of any human being who has taken a wild animal and taken away their wild nature. Domesticating an animal, you know, at this point, now we have to do all we can to give these animals the best life that we can. I mean, because in this case, doing what I've done here and through this explanation of preparing dogs' food properly, this is more properly prepared or more thoroughly prepared, if you will, than dogs would just about ever do for themselves in the wild. But under human beings' care, you know, we need to take responsibility to, if we're going to domesticate these animals, give them the best life that we can. Because that's the thing, is with the bioavailability in food, right? With the ability for the body to actually extract as much nutrients as it personally can from whatever it's eating, we can actually increase that in our dogs through how we prepare their food. And the dogs can actually get more nutrients from the food we feed them as human beings than just them eating wild food as a natural dog in the wild, because we can do what we can do as human beings with our understanding of things like that, of how food is just fuel, it's just the nutrients that it is, and how do we fully extract that nutrients. Dogs understand that food is just fuel, but they don't really understand they need to chew their food. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is taking multiple minutes for Dante to eat this. And so you've got this just gradual, gentle introduction of this quantity of food into the dog's body. And there you go. Here, dude, there's still a little bit of meat that was underneath the glass dish. There you go. Anyway, so this is just some of the discussion on this, because we could get in depth on how to properly prepare dog food. We could do experiments on the way you prepare food versus how long the food you fed your dog, you know, continues to give them energy from it, you know, and how quickly your dog can go exercise right after they eat, depending on how you prepare their food, you know, and things like this. You can actually do studies and you know, experiments on these things. That's what I'm saying, is just preparing dogs' food properly. Well, you can go to the extreme with it and do like actual, you know, tests and studies to see, you know, by doing what things, how can we fully utilize the benefit of what's in our food that we feed our dogs by us preparing it before we feed them as human beings, you know, with them just being domesticated animals. So, yeah, there you go. You know, just some context, like, good boy, Dante, good. That's where we're going to stop with this food. There's still like a little bit in the container, but just a tiny bit, just left in the bottom of the jar. So, when I was saying earlier how, you know, you can feed your dog improperly, if you will, and then they're just tired right after they eat. Well, if we're going to go on a big walk or a big hike or just some big adventure like that with our dogs, and we're like, all right, let's make sure we feed them some really good food to properly fuel their body for the hike. That's where this video comes in. That's what I'm saying. At least an understanding of what you can, you know, you can see what I'm really saying here with this. Preparing dog food properly is, you can give your dog a really big meal and then go on a hike in like 10 minutes. And your dog is not actually going to be fueled by that meal the way that you intended on them being fueled. You give them a big meal, so you think, all right, this will be a lot of good energy for them for the hike, but really their body is actually already being worked by just trying to process that amount of food through their body, right? Just a large quantity of food at once, too much at once. That's already going to fatigue the dog, and then you send them on a hike. And you thought you were fueling your dog's body for the hike, but really you were causing your dog's body to essentially kind of do a workout, if you will, to process that large quantity of food. And then you push their body even more and go on a hike. So, you know, smaller quantities at a time, food broken down properly, and just introduced to the body properly. That's really what I mean in this video, right? By preparing dog food properly. The intent is to fuel the body. That's a huge focus under In the Image Clothing Company. I mean, the body doesn't exist if it's not fueled, you know, and so this phrasing of food is fuel, we need to look at food as fuel, as human beings for our bodies and as the dogs for their bodies, but we're the ones giving it to them as the owners of these domesticated animals. We need to look at food as fuel. How can we properly fuel our dogs? How can we properly fuel our bodies as human beings? Because it goes into every aspect of your life. Your body's only what it is because of what you eat. Your body is literally what you have eaten. And same with the dogs. And so if we're not doing all we can to properly fuel our bodies, it goes into every aspect of our life, into our cognitive abilities, okay, our mental state, into our physical energy, into our emotional state. I mean, that's directly correlated. Food and emotions, yes. You know, but hydration is not only liquid, food plays into hydration as well, because the nutrients in our food is actually what hydrates us. As we discussed, you know, plain water, like processed, purified through human being processing water, that is not going to hydrate you. There's nothing in it if we extract things from water besides hydrogen and oxygen. So preparing food properly, our food actually can hydrate us, because what's in our food is what actually allows our body to hold on to water. That's what hydration is the measurement of the ability to hold on to water, not the amount of water in the body. Retaining water is what we are intending on doing. And so feeding dogs properly, preparing dog food properly, or feeding us as human beings properly, or preparing our food properly, that can keep us more hydrated, even if we don't think about the amount of liquid difference. Meaning, if we don't even change the amount of liquid that we drink, the way we prepare our food can keep us hydrated better. Okay. Or if we're not preparing our food well, it can cause us to be dehydrated. That's the point. And there's a lot to that. I said some of that in here, with what I did, but there's just a lot to this. And that's, again, what I'm saying is the date marks, that showing congruency, it's our insurance policy in a way. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Insurance Policy, and just, showing that we've been doing the same thing since the founding, saying the same thing since the founding, and really our intent and our focus, because this is the thing. We are a clothing company. And so if you don't know what In the Image Clothing Company is, our 5-word company name with no spaces between the 5 words, it's like, well, you might be thinking, I don't know if I'm really into fashion. I'm not into clothing so much. Maybe I won't care about this company. We are only about clothing, only, under In the Image Clothing Company, because it's the only thing physically placed onto our bodies. So collars, leashes, harnesses, anything like this at all, bandanas, slip leads, whatever we could say, placed onto a dog is clothing the dog. The point is to get to the functionality of the bodies under In the Image Clothing Company, and it has been since the very founding. That's the reason I founded In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, and I am in this for life, as I said. I make that very clear as well, just because these are videos at the earlier stages, a little over 16 months as of today's date, into the founding of In the Image Clothing Company. Like I'm just saying, just to show congruency, we've always been what we are. We didn't start out as a clothing company and then decide to do other things as well. We're labeled a clothing company. We will always have good clothing, human being clothing, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials to allow the body to work for human beings. But then also dog products, whatever we get into, but things like collars, leashes, harnesses, slip leads, these type of things for dogs. We'll always have these products once we do under In the Image Clothing Company, but the only reason is because we have them. Really, the fix is never put anything on the body. God designed the body to work. If we never altered it, it was designed to work. It should just work within our own individualistic situations. But we place clothing onto our bodies. We get into chronic patterning, scar tissue and bone spurs build up in the body, trying to work around oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing of any kind, and there are many in modern clothing design that's also shipped across the entire earth in ways that could never possibly have been done in the past through technology. Stretch in clothing that didn't exist even just tens of years ago from today's date, the 25th of February, 2026. And then same with the dogs, shoelaces and drawstrings, they're just ropes introduced to the body. And there's only one way the body is going to ever mechanically, physically function and operate. Same with the dogs. Okay. So there you go. Okay. The human being is just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. Same with the dog. It's just a mechanical machine. A machine of motion, just operations, hinges, levers, and rotations, just functionality throughout it. It only does what it does, and only could ever possibly do what it does. And there you go, okay? So we allow the body to work. We truly do. We have no opinion to that. There's no opinion that could ever matter on how the body works. It only works how it does. Same with the dogs. And the thing is, we discuss the functionality physically of the mechanical operations of the body of the human being. That's our focus, with clothing company being in our name and with us focusing on clothing. But like I'm saying, we're only what we eat. We only come from the food we've eaten. So we'd have no even opportunity to focus on the mechanical functioning of the body, our ability to walk and stand and, sit and sleep. and just do these physical operations that we do if we move at all as a human being or a dog, if we didn't first fuel the body to have it exist, right? So preparing dog food properly. There you go. How was that, bud? He's still got Greek yogurt on his, like on the top of his muzzle from yesterday. Funny. Anyway, just know we're doing big things here, and I don't say that to hype anything up. I just say that because we discuss things that are universal. There's a universal human design. We all eat food. We all wear clothing. All dogs eat food, and all dogs that have anything placed on them have something placed on them. I mean, there's only one way these things work, and our goal under In the Image Clothing Company is to not have any opinions on this stuff. Truth is truth. It's always been there since before we were, and it will always remain after we die, you know? So you don't have to care about clothing or about In the Image Clothing Company, but we're just doing all we can, have been since the founding and always will, to just discuss things that are apart from all of us to get closer to God. We're focused on the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's in our company name. In the image of God, we're designed, right? In the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company for anything that clothes our bodies that are designed by God, right? We don't cause our bodies out of our own doings to have their heart beat or, eyes blink or lungs to breathe or our bodies to heal themselves. These things happen by themselves. Same with digesting food. So, yeah, it just is what it is. It's not our choices on how these things work. But yeah, within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is really where we're geared and focused with, staying rooted and just what we do and how we're able to do anything at all because we exist. And so how did that happen first? Yikes. Anyway, there's a lot to life. And it's not our choices, anyone, at all. Yeah. All right. In the Image Clothing Company music, another one of our fourths. We show sizing and setup of guitar to not alter things like the neutral wrist and the rounding in our hands that correlates with the arches in our feet. Rhythm and poetry, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, spoken word, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. We do a lot actually on In the Image Clothing Company music as well. I haven't been talking about it all that much lately, but there you go. Poodle Parade events. If you'd like to come here to the state of Utah, the United States of America, we live up Utah as In the Image Clothing Company. We'll always do so much in the beautiful, diverse nature here, right under the gift of video, just doing things outside. We'll get people into nature and dogs into nature. Bring your purebred poodles of any size or mixed poodles of any size if you'd like to. Come for the reason we're doing the events, not for In the Image Clothing Company's team. And it'll be fun, things like subcategories of Poodle Parade events, clean the creek or rid the rubbish Poodle Parade events, actually picking up trash, doing things for the environment of our beautiful planet Earth. Okay, we do a lot here under In the Image Clothing Company, and it really, time-wise, we're just getting started. We're only just a little over a year, really, into the founding of In the Image Clothing Company. So as our team builds, once Dante and I move down to St. George, Utah, that's where we will set up base camp for life, as I say. That's where we'll be based. We'll have our building down there, and we'll be able to do a lot more than we're able to do now with just me and Dante, Seriously, yeah, there you go. So here's just another date marked documentation, what we're doing, why we're doing it, who we are as In the Image Clothing Company, and yeah, our information on In the Image Clothing Company poodles here applies to all dogs. We specialize in purebred standard poodles, and there's a lot of reasons as to why. But dogs are dogs, really. They're different a little bit where they are, but they're all canines. They're all just the same thing to a degree. But then a lot of our information applies to things like pack mules or horses. You put a halter on an animal like that. But any animal under human beings' care, I mean, it's the same approach, So, anyway. Yeah. Keeping collars centered. The importance of snug collars, holding leashes naturally so we don't alter our bodies as the owners of dogs, the height of dogs versus the height of owners. so we don't have to get down to a really small dog. If you're a relatively tall person, for example, you know, keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes, there's a lot to it and what we do here. So yikes, you know, feeding is a big thing. I've said this before, you know, we advocate for people who are just general owners of dogs. We advocate for probably never feeding your dog anything besides just store-bought dog food if you're not going to be very intentional with what you feed your dog. And if you do that, just make sure you rehydrate dehydrated foods. But also on the other end, maybe you never feed your dog store-bought dog food, branded dog food in its entire life. You can feed your dog anything that is natural, whole food that your dog can eat healthily and in the right quantities of each amount of, you know, specific food. That's totally fine. And in some ways, maybe even better, seen with context, than store-bought dog food. But regardless, just to make it clear, you know, we kind of say it on either end because unless you're going to be very, very intentional about what you specifically choose to feed your dog, and then like this video's title, Preparing Dogs Food Naturally, well, that's not what the title is exactly, but properly, right? Preparing dog food properly, because that's the thing is we have the cognitive ability as human beings to prepare it as properly as we know that we can for the dog's sake. Yeah, unless you're going to put a lot of intentionality into it, the reason why it is really good to advocate for just general dog owners to never feed their dog anything besides store-bought dog food is because there's a lot of what we could call people food that's actually poison for us as human beings. And then, you know, we're giving that to our dogs and they don't have any choice to get on anything else besides what we give them. It's just very damaging to their physical health, you know, with these unnatural foods we have nowadays. So anyway, there you go. There's a lot of context. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to come. There's more that I could say in this video, even as of now. But it just is what it is, just the documentation, which is just what it'll always be. Any video we make under In The Image Clothing Company, it's not just because it's one of these earlier ones. This is the same approach we'll always have. These are the same things we'll always discuss. The point is the goal on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company, natural, you know, like the dirt under my fingernails. Yikes. But yeah, you know, I mean it. Yeah. We just live in such a different experience, existence, and society in our modern man-made world than we'd ever possibly have, not only just ever possibly have to deal with in the past, but we'd never even have the possibility to deal with. Yeah, I mean, these things wouldn't even exist. You know, anything we've made as human beings didn't exist until they were made. And a lot of that is, yeah, it's damaging our dogs. It's just big time damaging our dogs if we're not very, very intentional. So, man, it's humbling because this is what we do. You know, we could be in the Image Clothing Company forever and never sell any products, but just do things like this, you know, give information and just change lives of both human beings and dogs through just understanding. That's what we need in life is just context, context, context. I love that word so much. There's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast that is context over content. We're not here making videos for content, like fun things just to watch because they're fun only. We're here to really deliver good universal information that's not our choices. If we can take ourselves out of things, then things work the best. If we take ourselves out of the dogs' lives, the dogs have natural lives, the way they always lived before human beings started to domesticate dogs. That's the thing. There's no opinion to it. So there you go. Yikes. Yeah. I'm not trying to cut myself off because, you know, if I'm saying things that I need to say, then I'll just keep saying things I need to say. But yeah, Dante is an amazing dog. He's just one of the many that will come under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Yeah, man. Shoot. There's a lot to it. Okay. You'll be able to see, like I've said, you can watch me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, watch my body's ability to work just through what we do so much of, the gift of video. just to show the credibility of the information we give here. And as I've said, you'll be able to watch our team members, as in the Image Clothing Company's team, build, and their bodies will just work properly to the best of what we can have that be. That's our focus. That's our slogan on In the Image Clothing Company's main site, allowing the body to work. But you can watch our poodles. That's what I'm saying. That's really what I mean. That's why I'm putting the focus on Dante. You can watch the hey buddy, the behavior of our dogs. You can watch the energy level of our dogs. You can watch the what I call poodle posture of our dogs, with keeping collars centered, light and minimal, balanced, things like this. Just natural in all the ways we can, unrestrictive toward the dogs. You can watch our poodles and see the validity of the information we give under In the Image Clothing Company, because, we just speak out of personal experience. We preach what we have practiced, we go before, and then we give the information to others afterward. And so, trial and error, prayer and revelation, personal experience. These are the ways we approach what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. We have since the founding, and we always will. And this will be the focus with all of our team members as well. Not only speaking from me, Evan Strong only, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, but the people we bring on board as our team members, and then the poodles we have. We'll be very intentional about what poodles we choose to own as In the Image Clothing Company, because they're our team members just as much as our human being team members are. Okay. And always will be. Like Dante here, I mean, he's the second employee, if you will, right? Team member, if you will, the second family member of the community that is In the Image Clothing Company. Very specifically, a company, not a business. We're doing things here as a company or a community. Those words are synonymous in the ways that we use them under In the Image Clothing Company. So there's a lot that we're doing, and that's why our videos are long. If you're wondering, like, wow, this is such a long video. A lot of our videos, at least as of this time period, are very long in relative length of, just videos like this on the internet nowadays. It's because they're packed full of information like this, and that's what we're here to do. Okay, is deliver good, valid information, gearing it around Jesus Christ. We couldn't decide the information. That's how it works. That's the only way things actually work. Okay, so good boy. Good. 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 You're a good dog, Dante. Anyway, there you go. Check out what we do, because we give a lot of free modifications in the things that we need to modify. Clothing for human beings, dog products. Maybe you buy designs of dog, like collars or something. Good boy. Good boy. My hands are still kind of covered in food. Right? But just to keep your collars centered for your dogs, like modifying our collars for human beings. We have a lot of things we do and show and give freely just under the gift of video. A lot of information under In the Image Clothing Company on all four sides. So check it out, man. In addition to this video, if you've watched this, great. If you like this, the way that I discuss things, I really do discuss things very thoroughly. That's like probably the biggest gift God has given me personally is the ability to speak well, deliver information and just explain things thoroughly. I approach music through that same way too, the way that I make music. I'm just really good at speaking, and that's what our videos are really, is just discussion, speaking. So if you like how this is laid out and delivered, stick around. We do a lot of this. We've got well over 1,000 videos as of today's date on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company combined. Okay. But yeah, just as our team builds, that's what I'm saying, is these are the kind of people that we'll bring onto In the Image Clothing Company's team, is people who are really willing to get down into the nitty gritty of things and really understand how things work, understand that we're not in charge, but God is, and people who can really, have a deep experience of life. Yeah, some real good God-fearing, dog-loving, nature-loving people, I mean, in the Image Clothing Company's team, it's going to be amazing always, regardless of when it fluctuates, if it does, and who comes on or leaves. And, we're just here to really build a good community and a good company. Life lasting, eternal, giving information that's not conditional on a time period or a part of the earth or a belief or something. No, just eternal truth. And that's only ever able to come from Jesus Christ. So Thank you. Oh man, it didn't stop, Dante. I say that just because I'm not trying to cut it any kind of prematurely. You know, if I'm supposed to say more, then I want to do all that I can to say all that I need to in each of these videos, even if they are very long, because you make it once and it's done. Permanent documentation, the gift of video. It's amazing. Look how he's just standing there. What are you doing, boy? You're a good boy, Dante. All right, there's some good brands, you know, of things. We'll just work with good people doing good things as we do, you know, good companies, good communities, good people, for the environment, through products, you know, people who are making good products, and all these type of things, man. We are in the Image Clothing Company. Stick around if you want to. I better get some food too now, Dante. I had just a little donut hole is actually what it was. That's all I've eaten today. So we'll just have a good day, Doug. We'll have a good day. This is just how it is. As I say, it's blunt, bold, raw, and real in the Image Clothing Company style. We just do it like this. We do it like you're just hanging out with us. That's what I mean by building a community. Is we don't want to be trying to be anything behind a camera lens that's different than how we just are in real life. You know, with the goal being natural, that's synonymous with authenticity. You know, something that's just authentic to what it is just naturally how it is, natural, neutral, and normal. Well, you could also add authentic as a synonym with those words, really. So, yeah, it just is what it is, man. You know, we're just here to just do what we do. That's what I mean is we're not here for trends. We're not here to build some kind of like quick success either, you know. We're in this for the long haul, and you'll see that through, you know, who we end up working with, like organizations and companies that we end up doing things with, collaborating with in whatever ways we do. It's because, yeah, I mean, we're really trying to do all that we can to take ourselves out of things and give the glory to God, because you have to. I mean, where else did you come from, you know? And I'm not trying to get into like answer my question about it, but we discuss it under In the Image Clothing Company. You don't have to believe in anything, you know, but life is just what it is, even if you don't believe in anything. You know, truth is truth, regardless of any kind of beliefs that could come up on truth. There has to first be something there to have a belief on it. At least you have to first be there before you can develop a belief on how you got there. You know, I mean, life is just what it is, man. Yeah, it'll never change either. Truth. Yeah. Man. I love this though, man. It does ground you, you know, just sitting on the floor, just speaking as long as you need to, as long as you feel you need to, even if you don't know what you're going to say, you know, just letting the Spirit of God lead. These are the ways we're going to just continue to approach In the Image Clothing Company, man. And being down there in the desert in St. George, Utah, it's only about 3.5 hours south of where we are here in Utah County. But we'll move down there, Dante and I, in about, you know, within a couple months from now, guaranteed. Guaranteed, which is a big guarantee because I don't know how it's going to happen exactly. But, you know, just staying grounded, the way you do that is just taking your hands out of things and trying to figure out how things really work before we could ever try to decide how things just work. They're already working if we just let them, you know? So anyway, man, you good boy. He's such a good dog, man. Dante the rescue. It's not like I, you know, bred to this dog. I just, you know, was gifted him. I mean, he's amazing. Just the first of many, but I'm going to have him for his whole life. You know, he's amazing. You're awesome, Dante. Your eyes could be cleaned out. Your nose could be cleaned off. Your hair could be combed. You're funny, dude. Anyway, you're a good dog. You're such a good dog, Dante. I know I'm not petting you, dude. I just don't want to get chicken grease wiped all over your hair if I don't need to. Man, I just don't know exactly what we're going to get into product-wise for sure under In the Image Clothing Company, besides just, the clothing and the dog products that we'll certainly have. And we might really get into some things that are surprising, that we sell for the sake of we'll make really good things. That's the only reason we'd ever have products. It's things that actually work, things that people actually need, a quality product of. Everyone wears clothing. Every body has one, and every one has a body, and every dog that has a collar or something like this has one. But every dog eats food, everyone has need for hydration and things like this. I don't know exactly all of what we're going to get into product wise. And, I'm just praying through everything that I'm doing here. So, yeah, to the best of what I can, but that's what I'm saying. And the Image Clothing Company is, always has been, and always will be huge. And so, there's a lot of different ways on how you could explain how it's huge, and we might really do a lot of things that are very surprising to me as well. So the fact that we can date mark things like this and just show what our intent has been since the very founding, it's another big reason why it's a gift, a video. Maybe we sell dog food, is what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm not opposed to things like this, even if they're really big things. Being as simplistic and minimal of a company as we are, and me personally, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I'm just a easy going, if you will, right? Meaning very simplistic and minimal person. I just lead a very simple life. Even if it seems like it's a bigger company that I'm really, wanting, if you will. Yeah, I mean, whatever we get into doing, I'm just here for the long haul of it. I'm here to pray through it and do the will of God to the best ability as I can, and so I just know there's some big things in the store because I know what we're really doing here, and I know how we're allowed to and who the credit goes to, and so yeah, it's kind of crazy. Good things start just so simply, a mustard seed sized grain of faith, As it says in the Book of Mormon, by small and simple means are great things brought to pass, or something like that. So, as I say, it's just laying another brick in the foundation or in the building of In the Image Clothing Company. Each time we film a video, it's just another brick. Each time we develop another little bit of understanding or piece of information on something that's just universal truth, it's just another brick in our building of what this really is as the company and community that we are under In the Image Clothing Company. And, I mean, we're just getting started. And I could say that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the line. Because if we're doing things that last forever, it's about our grandkids, great-great-grandkids, kids. And then their poodles as well, or their dogs of any breed. That's what I'm saying. Like, episode 100 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast was titled Laying a Foundation. Kind of to, prove a point, but also not to just prove a point. It was just an episode, and I was just discussing how we're only laying a foundation at episode 100, and we're already at episode 204 as of today's date, like I said. So that's what I'm saying is, just the beginning of In the Image Clothing Company could be the end of my lifetime. Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. And so I'm just prepared. That's what I'm saying, to do things that, are really nothing to do with me, but I'm just, grateful to be in the position to be able to be part of it. I've got some really, really big expectations without having unrealistic expectations, because there's universal truth to life. And so if we can align our choices and our will with it, and really it's with him, Jesus Christ, then things just can last forever. I'm not interested in the, flash in the pan, quick success type business company, get the money and run. I don't care about that, you know, at all. So just to be very clear, I'm just excited to work with some really good people. I'm excited to just experience some beautiful nature. I'm just excited to hang out with some really awesome dogs and to breed some really healthy, proper dogs and to just give some good, valid information. I'm just excited to continue to keep allowing my body to work, and just showing how that happens and to help people across the entire earth through the gift of video and through the internet and modern technology, and just ways we could never have possibly done these things in the past. That's really what I'm doing here as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. So just to be very clear, just on what's really going on here, why we even have this at all, you know, yeah. We're titled a clothing company, and it kind of just makes you think because there's just so much to this, and even that in itself is really cool. That our company name doesn't really explain what we do, just about at all. I like that, you know. So yeah, stick around if you want to. Stop back in if you want to, but only if you want to. Just meaning we give information that applies to you because you're a human being and there's a universal human design. Man, I just love how humbling it is too, just to sit on the floor like this. I mean, it's just fun, man. I mean, this is the good times. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it can be just as good of times when we're a really really big company, but it wouldn't have to be any bigger than this for it to be just as fulfilling and you know, yeah, enjoyable. I mean, this is so fun. It's so great. Just going on walks with Dante here. Just the first of many standard poodles we'll have. Ah, shoot, you know what I mean? Just feeding him, just learning about this stuff as I go. I mean, this is just as fulfilling as it will be when we're known across the entire globe as In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really cool, man. Such a gift just to be in this position. And it's probably shocking too to a lot of people. They'll click on a video under In the Image Clothing Company, and all of a sudden they'll get like a life lesson message like this. They're like, I thought you were just talking about dog food, and all of a sudden you're like a grandpa sitting on the front porch. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean is we're shocking here, and that's the thing. God will do that. He'll give you the unexpected, but just being as real as we can. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. I say that very clearly for a very specific reason. Those four things we say that we are as In the Image Clothing Company, because that's where you get fulfilled. Is just being as real as you can be, even when people don't like it. Even when people have a problem with your approaches to things or what you're explaining or how you structure things. Like, that's good. It's good for people to have a problem with you, because that means you're doing something that's impactful, probably. It could be in maybe a positive or not so positive way, but right. Yeah, I mean, no, we're just doing all we can to glorify God truly through what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. It's in our company name, so don't be surprised. Right. Man. Anyway. Cool. We'll get into all the things we get into with dogs. I mean, just every avenue of what it means to take care of a dog. If we touch on it, we touch on it. And there you go. Clothing is just part of it. It's just how we get to the bodies, is because it's on top of them. Shoot, man. Cool. Very cool. Man. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't give our dogs. I mean, right now, as of today's date, I only have Dante, but going forth, we're not going to be giving our dogs water separate from food. No, just give your dog the amount of water you give them and the amount of food you give them, but put it together. It's the same thing as if they ate the food and then immediately after drank the water. It's the exact same. Wow, amount. But it's actually more beneficial when it's mixed together, and there's a lot of context behind that and why, that we've given already and will continue to deepen and give under In the Image Clothing Company. So, anyway, man, I mean, what do you think, Dante? You having a good time or what? I know you are. Dante's a true rescue too, man. He needed a lot of help. He's got an entirely better life than he did before. I mean, yeah, it's a completely different dog in so many different ways that we could really, really get into discussing, and we probably will discuss quite a lot of it where we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. I already have, in ways under In the Image Clothing Company podcast, for example. So, anyway, date marked and documented, posted publicly, man. In the Image Clothing Company, it's how we do things. So cool. Man. All right. I don't think I got any branding in this video of anything, but if I did, then shout out to them, whoever it was. Try to be intentional about that where I do, but yeah, whatever it could have been if, It's just cool to see the journey too, though, to see the growth, to be able to follow something, you don't have to be interested in us as the people behind In the Image Clothing Company, but following the journey of just the growth of deepening understanding and, you know, just getting better at things as we go. I mean, it's just cool to be able to see that kind of stuff because that's available to all of us, if we're willing to just keep pushing into something that other people might have just given up on when they didn't see the progress they thought should have come by a certain time. I don't give up, man, on things that I just am not going to give up on personally. Me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. That's one of those things you can see through the company that I have founded. And again, it doesn't have to be about me, but just to show that journey, it's something that's so cool to be able to follow. Me saying that personally, that I've been able to follow through other people's lives, posted publicly in ways like that for that reason. It's really cool. So yeah, Dante's my first dog too, man. I'm 26 years old, and yeah, just the first of many. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna work with some awesome people, man. Some wildlife people, some, animal rescue people, some breeders. I mean, these kind of people, man. I mean, we're just gonna do some really great things for the environment. There's so much to this, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. It's so weird that I just am in this position. You can never expect things that you can't expect, if you will. I mean, man, it's really cool though. It's really fulfilling. I mean, that's our focus, is doing fulfilling things, lasting things, permanent things, in all the ways we can under In the Image Clothing Company. So the gift of video, man. Hmm. All right. You know, I don't deserve to be in this situation. I mean, that's the big point. I make that clear where I do. Like, we're just very undeserving of whatever God, who's perfect, gives us because we're imperfect as human beings. It's just kind of ridiculous to see what we're given and gifted and granted, if you will. I mean, yeah, Yeah, it's literally mind-blowing, if you will. Right? I mean, just so shocking and surprising. Like this beautiful dog I have. Man, what? Darn. Yeah, I mean, like, what if it was the last video, you know? You never know. What could happen if I die or if something crazy happens in any kind of way that you could never expect it, you know? I mean, just treating everything you do, every experience you get like your last one, seriously. I mean, I'm just kind of giving that context because I understand this is a long video, but that's why. That's why I'm still just sitting here because of that reason. It's like, well, you know, we've got to realize the impact of all the things we're doing in the moment we're doing them, or else we'll just be looking for something bigger, something better, something more and additional. And we'll never be able to be content if we're not able to be content. Always. I mean, really, we should always be able to be content no matter where we're at. That kind of sounds like a tall order, but it is possible only through Jesus Christ. Yeah, so don't be surprised. We're not a religious company. We're a company founded on the truth of God, the creator of all things, Jesus the Christ. So we're here to make some waves, man, for the sake of just truth, you know, the only thing that actually exists. It's not our choice, so yikes. Big things, Dante. Big things already, and, you know, we're just getting started. Unless I die tonight, who knows? Seriously, I mean it. That's why I'm saying it like that. You never know if you don't know. A lot of things we don't know, Dante. Yeah, that's what I mean with In the Image Clothing Company. It's just In the Image Clothing Company podcast is what I mean. It's just deep insights on life. You know, you don't have to be religious or believe in anything. We're all human beings, though, the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It's always the same thing every generation. You know, the world changes on top of the earth, but the earth's still the earth, and we're just taking a journey, dude. So, you know, I don't believe in anything, but I know God, as we all can. Just hang out if you want to, man. This is just the beginning. Anyway, you're a good dog, Dante. I'm just praying through it, just to be clear. I'm not just waiting out because I want it to be a long video. No, I'm just praying through it, you know, making sure I see what I need to in this one specific video. Just while we're already making it, you know. So Anyway. Hmm. All right. Well, shoot. Yeah, you just never know what one video is going to do, you know, whichever one it could be. You never know what one conversation is going to lead to, you know, or what one smile you give someone is going to lead to, or something like this, you know, whatever it could be like that. Just one thing, you know, you might kind of underestimate it and it might change your entire life or someone else's entire life, you know, or just lead to something so huge you couldn't have possibly expected before it happened. So just remembering that, you know, not looking for anything bigger than where you actually are, because we're only where we are always. There's so much in it. There's so much to it. You know, a lot of times we just miss what's really going on because we're looking for something else or something more. And if it never comes, then you didn't even get to experience where you already were if you were looking for something else, you know? So, man, you're a good boy, Dante. I just know a lot of things are going to change big time. I mean, our physical location, me personally, Evan Strong, and my dog here, Dante, just the first of many, you know. I mean, we're going to move down to St. George, Utah, and things are just going to be different. And that's good. It's growth, and that's what we're supposed to do. But, you know, there's also so many good times and good experiences and good things happening right now where we are already that we have to do all that we can to fully, you know, live up, really, before it's different. And different in a good way, but still different, you know. So, the whole thing about the humble beginnings, you know, I mean, it starts so simple and then it gets to be so much more as time goes, whatever it is in life. And, you know, that's relative and it's up to interpretation to a degree on, you know, certain things like that in ways. And so, you know, it's all just a journey, man. It's so cool to look back though, for the sake of seeing the change and the progression and how different things have become. You know, how far you've come from where you were in any avenue of anything in life. I mean, the gift of video, man. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You can forget things easily, you know, but documenting things like this, yeah, is just awesome. Sometimes we can kind of forget, you know, where we were and how much better things are. Sometimes isn't really that clear to us unless we can look back at where we came from before then. Man, and we'll be able to, as in the Image Clothing Company, because not only me but our whole team, you know, as it builds and as it fluctuates, if it does, where it does, we'll just film so much, you know, we'll just document. It's just another date mark documentation, even if it's, you know, at any time period going forth. Yeah, since the very founding. I mean, that's the point. On the founding date, it was a date mark documentation of the founding of In the Image Clothing Company, you know, the 23rd of September 2024. So looking at from there till now and seeing all the change and growth in me personally and, you know, the company as it is, in the Image Clothing Company, it's crazy. And that's only 16 months, give or take, you know. That's nuts. Coming up on 17 months. Maybe I don't know, we're somewhere around 17 months, give or take. Without trying to figure it out right now, I'm just saying, yeah, it is what it is, dude. Ah, shoot. Yeah, dude, whoever that is, right? I'm in this for life, man. This is how that's allowed to happen. That's what I'm saying, is it's these documentations that allow that to be the case. A lot of it is the date marks that allow that to be the case, you know, to show congruency. I mean, we can't make something up if you can watch it happen under video. You know, not really. Not really. So, shoot, you know. I love zoos, you know, I love animals. I love nature and wildlife. I love the desert. I love the desert. There's a lot to come, just to be very clear, you know. Just to be clear. Yeah. That's the thing, no one's going to be able to question of what our intent was or has been since any time if it's documented and date marked under the get to video. That's what I mean. Just to be very clear. I've spoken things very clearly, just so that we're very clear on what In the Image Clothing Company truly is and has been since the founding. That's the point of the date marks. That's the point. Not to put any kind of credit on me, you know, that doesn't need to be put, or any focus on me that doesn't need to be put, but just to be very clear, I've been really, really, really working, man, since the founding of In the Image Clothing Company. Regardless what it looks like or what it seems, really time is what's going to tell, you know, and yeah, I couldn't make it up. It's documented, so I couldn't exaggerate it. It's documented. I couldn't make it something it isn't. It's documented, you know. It's been a huge journey. It's been so fun too, man. It's been such a good time up until this point, and it'll continue to be so fun, so good, so impactful, so fulfilling, man. It's just awesome, you know. Doing what we're doing here, the reason why we actually are what we are as In the Image Clothing Company. It makes me emotional, you know. It really does. In a good way. So cool stuff, man. Cool stuff, you know. Because yeah, no guarantees on exactly how everything's going to look going forth, but that's why I've done it how I've done it up until now, and given the depth of context and information that I have, because it's a one and done kind of thing. You know, you do it once and it's there if you document it like this under video. Yep. Shoot. My heart's in it, man. I don't care about the money. I don't care about some business. There's very few things in life that I actually really care about. But those things are something I dive into very, very, very deeply. So, just to be clear, you know, I love to be clear. Yep. Man, Oh, shoot. Yikes. That was my jaw, by the way. That ear cartilage really, Anyway, check out what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. It applies to you. It's permanent. Getting out of chronic patterning. Breaking up scar tissue and bone spurs. It can never happen again unless you do the same things it took to get into the patterning in the first place, and that's years. At least months, or weeks, but maybe almost an entire lifetime. Yikes. Same with the dogs, like I'm saying, with Dante being the true rescue that he is, he needed a lot of physical help. Misalignments in his body and a lot of things that can just happen under, ownership from a human being. Man. Couple episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast I reference back to back where I do, it's not a walk in the park, okay? It's actually titled Not a Walk in the Park, but then also never be the same, because it will never be the same. It's not easy to get out of patterning. It's not easy to do what we really do under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. But once you do it, it'll never be the same. It never possibly could, as long as we're intentional from that point forth. I mean, learning how to eat naturally, for us as human beings, learning how to feed your dogs naturally, these things will never be the same once you start doing them. Once you learn what it means to do these things properly, learning how to have clothing fit you correct, or how to have your dog have what we could call clothing on them that's not altering their bodies. Yeah, things will never be the same from there forth. And a lot of these things with sleeping and, standing, walking, eating, breathing, hydration, whatever it is, everything we do, once we learn how to do things properly, it'll never be the same. There's only one way things happen. It's not our designs. It's not our choices. So it's a lot to go through, though. I'll tell you that. Extremely fulfilling and completely worth it. But it's hard work, Again, just to be clear. So, okay. Oh, good gravy. Thank you. What are you waiting for, huh? More food? You just ate. Hug me, boy. Even though my hands are chickeny. You're a good dog. You're a really, really, really good dog. All right.